Ever heard of the boy who lied his way into war? It sounds like something out of an adventure novel, but for countless young men, this was their reality. Imagine being a teenager, maybe 14 or 15, and the world is engulfed in the chaos of the Great War. Everywhere you look, there are posters calling for heroes, for men to stand up and fight for king and country. Your older brothers, your neighbors, the men you look up to, they're all signing up, marching off in uniform to the sound of cheering crowds. You feel this incredible pressure, this pull to be part of something bigger than yourself, to prove you're a man. So, what do? You grab a Bible, the family Bible, and you head down to the recruitment office. When the recruiting sergeant, a tired, overworked man who desperately needs to meet his quota, asks for your age, you look him straight in the eye and lie. Okay? You say you're 18, maybe even 19. He might raise an eyebrow, noticing the lack of stubble on your chin or the way the oversized coat hangs off your narrow shoulders. But he's got his orders. The army needs bodies. So he asks you to swear on the Bible that you're telling the truth. Your hand trembles a little, but you place it on the book and swear the oath. Just like that, you're in. You're a soldier. This wasn't a one-off story. It happened thousands upon thousands of times. Historians estimate that as many as 250,000 underage boys enlisted in the British Army alone during World War I. They were known as boy soldiers. They came from all walks of life: factory workers, farmhands, schoolboys, all united by a cocktail of patriotism, a thirst for adventure, and a desperate desire to escape the mundane poverty of their lives. For many, the Army promised 3 square meals a day, a sturdy pair of boots, and a chance to see the world. It sounded a lot better than another day down the coal mine or behind a shop counter. The process of faking your age was surprisingly simple. In an era before digital records and photo IDs, all it often took was confidence. Some boys would write the number 18 on a slip of paper and put it in their shoe. When asked if they were over 18, they could truthfully say yes, a clever bit of wordplay to soothe a guilty conscience. Others would just stand tall, deepen their voice, and hope for the best. The recruiters, often veterans themselves, weren't always fooled, but they frequently turned a blind eye. The relentless demand for fresh troops to replace the horrific losses on the front lines meant that questions weren't always asked too thoroughly. Once enlisted, these boys were thrown into the brutal reality of military training. They were no longer children. They were recruits, pushed to their physical and mental limits alongside men 10 years their senior. They learned to march, to handle a rifle that was almost as tall as they were, to fix a bayonet, to endure the endless drills and discipline of army life. Any softness, any hint of the child they'd just been, was mercilessly stamped out of them. They bonded with their fellow soldiers, forming the kinds of intense friendships that are only forged in shared hardship. To their new comrades, they weren't kids. They were just another Tommy, another soldier in the vast military machine. Then came the moment they had both longed for and dreaded: deployment to the front. They crossed the English Channel and were transported by train and truck toward the thunderous roar of the artillery. Nothing could have prepared them for what they saw. The landscape was a nightmarish, crater-filled wasteland of mud, tangled barbed wire, and the skeletal remains of trees. The air was thick with the stench of rot, chemicals, and death. This wasn't the glorious adventure from the posters, okay? This was hell on earth. Their new home was a trench and narrow, muddy ditch that offered the only protection from the constant threat of machine guns, shells, and snipers. Life in the trenches was a miserable cycle of terror and boredom. Days were spent huddled down, trying to stay dry, battling rats as big as cats, and enduring the meager, monotonous rations. Sleep was a luxury, constantly interrupted by sentry duty, work parties repairing the trench walls, or the sudden, deafening chaos of an enemy bombardment. The constant noise was maddening, a never-ending symphony of destruction that frayed the nerves of even the most hardened veterans. For a boy of 15 or 16, the psychological toll was immense. They witnessed horrors that no child should ever see. They saw friends they had trained with, men they had shared jokes with just hours before, killed or horrifically wounded in an instant. They learned to live with a constant, knowing fear. The line between bravery and recklessness was razor thin. Going over the top, climbing out of the trench to charge across no man's land into a hail of machine gun fire was the ultimate test. Imagine the terror, the adrenaline, the sheer primal will to survive as you run, stumble, and crawl towards the enemy lines, with bullets zipping past your ears and shells exploding all around. Many of these boy soldiers never came home. They fell in the muddy fields of the Somme at Passchendaele or at Ypres. Their names are etched onto the countless war memorials that dot the towns and villages of Britain and the Commonwealth. Men like John Condon, long thought to be the youngest Allied soldier killed in the war at just 14 years old. His story, and the stories of thousands like him, serve as a heartbreaking reminder of the true cost of war. They were children who were asked to make the ultimate sacrifice of an adult, and for those who did survive, they returned home as profoundly changed individuals. They were no longer boys, but they weren't quite men either. They were veterans, haunted by what they had seen and done. They carried both physical and invisible scars. Many suffered from shell shock, what we would now call post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. They struggled to reintegrate into a society that couldn't possibly understand their experiences. They went to war as boys, seeking adventure and glory, and came back as old men in young bodies, their innocence shattered forever. This phenomenon wasn't unique to World War I. When the world was plunged to conflict again 2 decades later for World War II, a new generation of boys, inspired by tales of their father's generation, once again lied about their age to join the fight. The methods were the same, the motivations were the same, and tragically, the outcomes were often the same. They served on the beaches of Normandy, in the deserts of North Africa, and in the skies above Europe. The story of the boy soldier is a powerful and tragic chapter in our history. It speaks to the immense pressures of society during wartime, the allure of propaganda, and the incredible, if misguided, bravery of youth. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about the nature of war, that in the desperate pursuit of victory, the lines between right and wrong, and between child and adult, can become terrifyingly blurred. These weren't just statistics or names on a memorial. They were kids who traded their school books for rifles, their childhoods for the trenches. They were the boys who lied to go to war, and whose stories we must never forget. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as moving as I did, please like, subscribe, and share. It's important these histories are remembered,